All right, everybody. Welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast. The Avalanche get off to as good a start as you could hope for. An 8-4 win in Montreal. Off to a good start to the Canadian road trip. Things are going to get a little bit dicey going forward, not only because you're playing Toronto, but you're going to be down a man. Not good. So is the season of the Colorado Avalanche. New episode coming at you right now.
Your Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. Thank you for making this your first listen of the day. That's always appreciated. Make sure to follow us on our social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram. Questions, comments, concerns, and opinions, the LockedOnAvalanche@gmail.com. And follow us on our YouTube channel over on YouTube. Hit subscribe. Get notified when a new show goes live, and probably start throwing in the subtext subscriptions now as well. If you want to connect with Kyle and I on a individual level through texting, you can subscribe to our subtext. The link to that is in the show notes, so make sure to do that as well. First 2 weeks are free, by the way. If you want to check that out, why not? Freebie. All right, sir, we're going to get to our sound check a little bit later, obviously, and a lot of good when you have an 8-4 win, which really wasn't even that close. It's going to be a heavily positive show, but we're going to get the bad out of the way right off the top. And that is Artturi Lehkonen, who had a great game when he played. But he did take that puck off of his glove hand. Who shot that? I think that was Nichushkin who shot it, if I'm not mistaken. Let me look at Rantanen. No, it was Rantanen. I think it was Rantanen who shot it, and he kind of redirected it with his hand, played for a little while, and then left the ice. And now it is being reported that he did, in fact, break that finger. So he's heading back to Colorado. He needs surgery on it. Yeah, you throw your hands up. So, he's obviously out for the rest of this road trip, you would have to think. How long in total? Obviously, we don't know, but you hate to see it because he was back against his old team, had a great game, 2 goals and an assist, and played about half of it, I think.
Yeah, I think he had the shortest shift I've ever seen to get a number 1 star in a game. Like, the shortest time on ice, because he ended up being the 1 star because of his performance. And it was nice to see the Montreal crowd be nice. And
sure, they gave him a standing O, yeah.
Yeah, that was a nice thing. But when it comes to injuries at this point of the season, man, I'm jaded. It's like, whatever. I don't care anymore. Somebody comes back, I'm like, okay, for how long?
Yeah. And a broken anything is what, 4 to 6 weeks, 8 weeks at the most, you would have to think, right? But I don't. My concern is like, how because you have about a month left in the season, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, and with a finger, I think you can, once that's towards the end of the healing, you can probably play it. Look at what Kadri did last year in the playoffs, right? I mean, that's the Stanley Cup. You're going to get up for that, even if you're 50%. You're going to go play. So I'll wait to see and hear how bad it actually. I mean, he's got to have surgery. There's some seriousness to it, but you just now you're worried about is how many games in the postseason is he going to miss?
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we stand with him. So
and see, that's the other thing. Like how we were talking about injuries going up and down, you're just kind of numb to it at this point. It's the same thing with timetables of return. Going into this season, did you really think we wouldn't have Landeskog touch the ice yet in middle of March?
Yeah.
When Bo Byram went out, you didn't know how long and you didn't know why. And like Nathan McKinnon could break something and be back tomorrow. You don't know with the timetables of these returns and how they're going to handle it. So you would just anticipate not seeing Lehkonen for the rest of the regular season. And depending on how far the Avalanche go, I think the chances climb with every round.
Yeah. It's just you're numb to it, but it's still just digs at you. It's like, God, like you're right. Nobody's immune to this. So that's injuries in sports, and just because the Avalanche have suffered so many of them, you're like, oh, we're not going to have any more. No, oh no, that's not true. It can happen at any point in time. And this is off of a good play. This is off a goal. So what else? How else can an Avalanche player get injured if we're now getting injured on goals that we score?
Yeah, and Fred, we still haven't seen Pavel Francouz, and he just disappeared with a lower body injury. And that's the thing. It's completely changed the mindset of the fan of, boy, this year we're going to follow it up back-to-back cups because this team is a unit, to we are just next man up mentality. Just let's put it together, scratch and claw and fight for every win, because we don't know, like, who would have thought Dennis Malgin would be the hottest player on the Colorado Avalanche right now? It's just the craziness of this season. Epitomized by this Lehkonen injury.
So we'll get that out of the way, and then we'll focus on this game in particular, because there was a lot of good that came at us. When obviously, this is one of those games. It's kind of like the San Jose one, where you are, clearly the superior team, and this is your first game on a nice road trip, week-long road trip. So you want to get that first win. You want to get the first of everything, the first the goal, the first win. And you should do that against a deeply struggling Canadiens team. And you saw that. Like, the Avalanche just went out, imposed their will, got 4 in the first, 3 in the first. Let me see. 4-1 after the first. And they were rolling. You know what I mean? Like, for the first 2 periods were like the last 2 periods of the previous game, where they were just dominant. The difference in this game was pucks were going in the net.
Yeah.
And that's like where, the Avalanche really did dominate that game against Arizona, especially the third period. That was maybe the most dominant period of their season. But just, they don't have a lot to show for these things. All these efforts that they're putting in, defensive efforts, even offensive, they're still getting 40 shots on goal. What they have in this one? 33 in this one. And you get 8 goals. I'm not saying you're going to score 8 goals every time, but God, like the Avs in that Arizona game were just in command. And a lot of people want to say, like, why does every mediocre or backup goalie just have the game of their life against the Av? Sure, there's some truth to that, and maybe because it is the Avalanche that these goalies are getting up for it. But the other part, if you ask me, is the Avalanche just are not executing on their shots.
Yeah.
They're not executing on offense, and they're getting okay looks. They're not getting great looks. In this game, they were the aggressor. And they were giving themselves amazing looks. Montreal was making it easy for them. The Avalanche could do whatever they wanted to do. There were so many times where the Avalanche would just have the puck around the outside, and somebody would just go skating in the middle unchecked.
Yep.
And that would open up so much for the Avs.
And see, and you mentioned it all beautifully right there. Those are 3 snapshots. We were talking about the craziness of this season. That San Jose game, it was so long since we had a dominant performance like that. Every goal, everybody was getting just fired up. Then fast forward a little bit to the Arizona game. The Avalanche are playing good, but that game was close. It was frustrating. You were just happy to get out of there with 2 points and just walk away. This Montreal game, they had 3 shots in the first period. Montreal had 3 shots. 4-1 at the end of 1. Every goal, you felt sorry for the Canadiens because there was nothing they could do. The score looked close, but you honestly, that second period, you just felt bad for every member, every goalie that they put in there. You just felt bad. The Avalanche and the Canadiens, such separation in talent levels, and for everything to be working. These weren't just goals, just little dribblers that go in there. Every one of them was a clinic on a snipe and a deflection and how you set up and how you prepare for those. This is what you wanted to see from the Avalanche. And by the way, perfect power play.
Say what?
Perfect power play. And not just
3 out of 3.
Not just statistically, the way they set up and how they maneuvered their shots. That third power play, I wanted to frame the whole thing and just have it on a loop playing behind me on the wall somewhere. It was exactly what we wanted this power play to look like.
Yeah, and even though, Montreal, I think they're 31st in penalty kill and 32nd for their power play, or that could be reversed. It doesn't matter either way. It's bad. So, even saying that, it's still difficult to go 3 for 3 on a power play for the Avs. So that's what you did. You exploited every weakness that Montreal has, and they have a lot of them, and they're going to. They're one of the worst teams in the league right now. So, the Avs didn't mess around. They went out there, they took care of business, and they hung 8 on them. So, and I'm sure, there's still going to be a lot of people who are kind of here, arms folded. Well, they're supposed to. Okay, fine. But it's again, we'll go back to how this season has just been so open. You don't have to go that far back. The last game they played prior to this one was not a walk in the park.
Nope.
So, you had a game against the Sharks and you had a game against the Canadiens where you took control. And then you had a game against Arizona, which, while you were in control, you only won the thing in overtime.
Yeah.
So again, it's still going up and down with the Avs, but this was exactly what they wanted, because the next game is not going to come so easily in Toronto. So more to get to in this one. We'll go through the stats. They are a bit gaudy, kind of a stat padding game, if you want to say, for the Avalanche. But first, we are going to hear from FanDuel. And we are beyond the midway point. The NBA season is coming to an end pretty soon here. Well, not, the regular season is coming to an end. So now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because new customers get the no sweat first bet up to $1,000 and bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sports app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use, and you can bet on everything from the money line to point scores and three-pointers drained. And of course, we have this little NCAA tournament coming up around the corner. I did my bracket. You did yours. I do one bracket. I am not the fill out a dozen brackets guy, because then if bracket number 7 wins, I feel like, well, that wasn't my genuine bracket. I just went. Who do you have winning it, sir?
I have the head and the heart bracket, but
okay,
my head bracket's going to be Tennessee.
Tennessee. Okay. I have Indiana winning it all. And I will fully admit it's kind of just random. I don't want to say random. There is some method to my madness when I'm picking, but
they have a great movie.
Yeah, I go for those teams. So that's who it is. I got Indiana. You got Tennessee. Prove either one of us wrong. You can't. So FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with the same game parlay. Don't miss the chance to get your no sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/locked-on. That's FanDuel.com/locked-on to learn more, and you can make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, let's look at some stats, and 8-4 really could have been worse than that. The Avs were man. I put up on Twitter, that was an offensive clinic, really, in that every time the Avs brought the puck into the offensive zone, things were happening. They were getting good looks. They easily could have scored a dozen on. There was some pretty good saves, and Montreal pulled their goal. Usually when a goalie gets pulled, why is the goalie who comes in always seem to shut down the other team? It seems to happen all the time. And Avs are just like cruising, and they make a goalie change, and then I think they got one goal after that. But whatever. But they were just it was, like I said, it was an offensive clinic in the first 2 periods. Montreal kind of turned the tide a little bit in the third. I say turn the tide, and they got all of 10 shots on goal in the third, which is by far their most. But the Avs just did whatever they wanted to do in the offensive zone to the tune of not only the 8 goals, but 13 players scored a point. There were 2 forwards who did not score. Do you care to take a guess, or do you just want me to list them off to you?
One has to be Mulligan.
One was Mulligan, which is kind of surprising because he's one of the hottest players. He had a couple good looks, though. He only had the one shot on goal, but he had a couple shots that were blocked and had some, defenders got in the lane, but he had some opportunities. I'll say that.
I cheated and looked up who the second one was.
Yeah.
It was baffling me because with all the goals, you're starting to process of elimination. But yeah, go ahead, throw out the second one.
Alex Newhook was the other one, and I don't think he played poorly. It's not for a lack of. I don't really think anybody had a bad game on the Avalanche. Maybe Georgiev, who you don't want to let in 4 goals when you're kind of flying like this, but I wouldn't even put all those goals on him, really. There were some pretty good snipe shots by Montreal. And
he had sleep in his eye.
Yeah. But I thought Newhook looked good. I thought he was skating around really good, but he just, couldn't get on the stat sheet. Okay. And then as far as the defenders go, same thing over there. Only 2 guys without a point. I know who they are.
Let's see. No, who are they?
It's a combo. It's Jack Johnson and Brad Hunt. So everybody else scored a point. You got Cale Makar with 3 assists on the day. I thought he had the 1 goal, but that did get knocked in, I think, by Nichushkin. Logan O'Connor, he initially had a goal and then they reversed it to Lehkonen. So he came up with 2 assists. Lehkonen with the 2 goals and the 1 assist, so 3 points for him. And because of the injury, he played less than 10 minutes of ice time. So I'm trying to see who else had double. So Taves with 2 assists. Nichushkin with a 3.9 goal and 2 assists. Just up in Evan Rodriguez with an assist. It's just up and down the lineup. They did what they wanted to do.
And I'm glad. And there's 2 points there. I'm glad you mentioned LOC because for the last 2.5 weeks, maybe 3, forgot he was a member of the Avalanche. So welcome back to the team, Logan O'Connor. It's like I'm happy to see him step up because with this ascension of the immortal Dennis Mulligan, he reminds me of when LOC was hot. That speed and just how he plays. I'm like, I missed that from LOC. So seeing him start to return to form has been great. Yep. And you mentioned how everybody had a good night. When you're not worried about gaining the offensive zone transition and you're actually worried about what you're going to do in the offensive zone, that's when shots look lethal. And that's the big difference in this game.
Now, do you think I think I know the answer to this, but you have a game like this, and obviously it's a confidence booster for certain guys. But do you think there's they'll have almost too much confidence going into Toronto?
No.
Yeah, I mean,
it's an understood what you're about to face.
I mean, you have to feel good about this, but you have to take it with a grain of salt. Great point about the zone entries and stuff. That was not an issue.
No.
So but it's going to be for the next game. But you look at confidence is a good thing, and sometimes we always say this in baseball, like when a person is a batter struggling, you lay down a bunt.
Yep.
And sometimes it just opens things up. Maybe this was the bunt for the Avalanche to be consistent. And it's going to be a little bit more of a struggle against a team like Toronto, but sometimes those things carry over in some weird ways. And I'm not going to say you're going to get clear and easy zone entries or even zone exits every time against Toronto, but maybe something carries over. We'll just have to wait and see for it. Go ahead.
Especially because Toronto's reeling, so you don't know if they're going to be angry at home or if it's going to be kind of still reeling from that Buffalo embarrassment, letting up 3 in the final frame. If the Avalanche could capitalize on this and walk out of Toronto with a W, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. No, then the confidence is flying high.
Yeah.
If you get in regulation or even whatever, even if you get in overtime, that's fine. But if you do get that regulation win in Toronto against that team, yeah, and this is a perfect storm for a good game because obviously the Avs are coming off of this win. They want to keep that momentum going, and Toronto just lost to Buffalo, and they blew the lead to do it in the third.
And
So
I think this is
they
a
are not gonna do
TNT
that.
game as well.
I think you're right. Yes, it is. It is. So, yeah, everybody's going to be watching.
Yep.
And it's going to be a good one. A couple more things I want to get to about this game, in particular, Mr. Bo Byram had a great game.
Yeah.
But that moment at the end there where things are starting to get a little bit feisty, you can tell he did not want to throw down, and I do not blame him.
Yeah.
We'll get to that in a second. But first, we're going to hear from Athletic Greens. Kyle and I have been talking and taking Athletic Greens for quite some time now. I don't. You still got the coffee can around there, sir?
I sure do.
There it is. So what is it? It's one delicious scoop of AG1 into a glass of water, and you are absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, and probiotics to help you start your day right. And the special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, even your energy, your recovery, and your focus, all of the things that are important to you. And it's lifestyle friendly, whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, or dairy-free, or even gluten-free, and it contains less than 1 gram of sugar with no GMOs, so there's no nasty chemical or artificial anything, while still tasting delicious. And it costs you less than $3 a day. And when you're investing in your health, how that's $3 a day?
Come on. This is it's worth every penny. Wait till you try it. You're going to honestly, you don't know how you lived without it.
Yeah. And I'm a coffee guy, and coffee can get pretty expensive.
Oh yeah.
But less than $3 a day for this. I mean, maybe you can swap that out for some. Kyle was doing it with the energy drinks. So you can do it with the coffee as well. Yeah.
It was vital to that process.
Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with a convenient daily nutrition. It's just one scoop in a cup of water every day, and that's it. No need for a million different pills or supplements to look out for your health. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL network. Once again, it's athleticgreens.com/NHL network. Take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. All right. So, yeah, the game got a little bit feistiness into it. And you kind of maybe expected that from Montreal to try to get back into it some way, somehow. You saw Nathan McKinnon wasn't too happy about a penalty that was called. I don't know if he felt I can't who was it?
He's speaking on the behalf of Miko now.
Yeah, but I mean, it was a trip, and I think Nathan McKinnon felt like maybe there was a little bit of a flop there potentially, so he kind of went back after him, and then Jack Johnson comes over and is like, "Oh no, you're not gonna touch good old Nate." So you liked seeing that, and then even towards the end there with Bo Byram. And Byram was sticking up for Newhook. I don't think he liked there was a kind of almost like a trip on Alex Newhook. So he checked the guy from Montreal kind of into the boards. He didn't like that. So they start going after it. And he threw a couple of jabs at Bo Byram, which I don't like that stuff, and I'm not gonna sit here and say like everybody knows what's going on with Bo Byram. They should.
Mm-hmm.
But, in the heat of the moment, I don't think a player on an opposing team is, if he feels like he's been done wrong, he's going to go after a guy. But Bo Byram did the smart thing there and just wrapped him up like a boxer. And he's like, I'm not doing this with you. And they just, waited till the refs intervened and that was it.
It was the weirdest thing. My fatherly instincts came out when I saw that going. I was like, don't you do it, son.
Yeah.
Out loud. I was like, don't you do it, son. And I saw them just kind of tango. And then you see Sam Girard just kind of back there like, do I intervene? Like how he was sitting back there. He was shoulder to shoulder with a Canadian. and they were waiting to see if there were punches thrown, but they just kind of like danced like in Beauty and the Beast. There was no real punches thrown.
Right.
So, but
And
I could not handle that.
but now, like, and we've said this many times with Bo Byram, and we're recording this like, pretty quickly after the game is over. In the back of my head now, I'm waiting am I going to wake up in the morning? And because there was one where he kind of like threw a jab at him and Byram's head went back. I got to watch it again. I don't know if he was doing that just to like protect himself and move his head out of the way, or if the guy in Montreal got his fist into his head and kind of pushed his head back, or maybe a combination of those two. But I am sitting here as we record this, again, like your fatherly instinct thing of, man, I really hope I don't wake up in the morning and it connected with him in the right way where now he's feeling a little bit iffy. He's taken dozens of hits. You know what I mean? Like he's been playing for quite a while now, and he's been playing well. But there's something about when the gloves are dropped, that it's a different animal. Look what's going on with Curtis McDermott right now. Like he hasn't come back from that fight either. So just because it's a fight and the history with Byram and the concussions, I'm sitting here just we're concerned fathers right now. Yeah.
Just out loud scolding from thousands of miles away.
Yes. So I just got another notification on the Lehkonen broken finger. I know. I don't, please stop sending me that, because every time from these several different things that send me notifications, I just
do not disturb, please.
Yeah. I think now's the time to shut the phone off. All right. One more bit of information to get to. That is, of course, our Locked On Avalanche sound check. Kyle and I pick one song each that we feel best summarizes the most recent game. Put these songs up on a playlist over on Spotify. To follow that, just open up the app, search for LOA Soundcheck. This is volume number 2. What do you got for this game? Avalanche, Montreal Canadiens.
Well, over the weekend, it was a very special holiday for those that observe. It was 3/11. For 3/11. One of the
quick note, I don't observe.
That's fine.
I have a couple good songs. I'm not a big 3/11 fan.
We're still brothers, but so of course I had to go with 3/11, and off their Stereolithic album, Make It Rough. We didn't just win the game; we made it rough.
Yeah,
and it's one of those, again, because I go heavy off the vibes of a song, and 3/11 is a whole vibe. Listen to that song. That's one of those, like, you're kind of getting back in the groove, and you're putting the pieces in place for that Toronto matchup that we were talking about. This is kind of what you want. You hope it's not too much of a vibe, but you know what you need to do.
Right. Okay. I will listen to it. I mean, I don't like completely hate 3/11 or anything like that, but just
it's the best in the pool, like around the pool band of all time.
See, that's not what I associate them with is relaxing pool music.
Close your eyes where like the sun is making your eyelids red, and it's just it's the best.
So the best sun songs are Michael McDonald and 3/11 is what you're saying.
Yeah. You heard it here.
Good pick, especially the song title, because that's perfect for this one. For me, I'm kind of going off song title as well. ABBA. We all love ABBA. We all know ABBA. But I think very few people know they came out with a brand new album a little over a year ago, late 2021. They came out with a brand new spanking album, the first album in 40 years.
Go listen to it. Take a chance on it, if you will.
Hey, but there is a song on there called No Doubt About It. And after the first period, really after those first, I think they got those 3 goals in 9 minutes. I think there was like about 11 minutes left when they got those first 3 goals. There was, it's kind of how you felt. You just felt like, these are 2 teams going in opposite directions. This is not like you jumped on a team like Dallas or Boston, who can obviously come back. You felt really good. And yeah, Montreal threw a couple pucks in net towards the end, but come on, none of us were sitting there like, oh no, like we weren't getting like anxious, like is the full comeback on? No, this thing was in control, and if the Avs needed to amp it up again for whatever reason, they could have done that, and they did. They got another one at the end with the 8 spot. So ABBA, no doubt about it. Gotta love it. All right, sir. That is going to wrap it up for today. We will be back tomorrow. If we have, maybe I'll turn my phone back on by then. And if we have any updates, we might not on Lehkonen, but as far as maybe duration of time
and Bo,
please don't. So we'll be back tomorrow with anything new going on in the Avalanche world and get everybody ready for the Toronto game. So that'll do it for today. Thank you for tuning in, making it your first listen of the day. Always appreciated. He is Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. I am Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow.